My cuss, didn't I?
It's live, yeah.
Do it again. We'll see if it's live. That'll help us know.
Okay, I think we're live. Hey, everyone.
You won't know until you cuss.
Welcome to our One Piece Netflix Season 1 recap show. This is the last show for Season 1 for us. And joined, as always, with me is my fantastic co-host, Laura from Fantasy Awash. And for our guest for our recap, we thought we'd change it up, and we call ourselves Going In Blind. So we kind of thought, let's pick somebody who is not going in blind in the show. So we invited Murphy Napier to join us. Thank
you for inviting me.
Yay.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, happy to.
So actually, we usually start these episodes off with asking our guests what their initial thoughts were of the show. And usually they're like us who've never watched the anime show or read the manga of One Piece. So for you, the question is different. When you started One Piece, what was it with? Was it the manga or
I started with the manga.
And what was your initial reaction? Did you love it at first sight, or did it kind of grow on you?
I can see Murphy just twitching with I need to tell you how much I love it. Yeah.
It grew on me. The art style at the beginning was a little bit rough for me just because I was very, very, very new to manga. Actually, One Piece is the series that won me over to manga. And then I also thought I didn't like absurdist fiction. And so I was like, this is ridiculous. This is nonsense. But eventually I realized that I was the one that was wrong. and now I like it.
Awesome.
I love that.
So, yeah, I mean, when you saw the show, first episode, we'll go episode by episode. You saw that first episode. What did you think of the casting? Did you think maybe, yeah, no, yeah, on a lot of the characters?
Yeah, I love Iñaki. Luffy, I think he captures who Luffy is, that doe-eyed, joyful, innocent smile that he keeps, and the excitement and wonder, but also there's a little bit of air between the ears. It's not all rational thought. So I think Iñaki's casting is brilliant. I think Taz is. Do you want me to say names? How do you want me to say it? Do you want me to say actors' names?
Yeah, you can. I think we know most of the actors' names, but you can.
If you use character names, I'll be a bit more up to speed because I'm not going to lie. I know a few of them, but I have kind of.
It's all good. It's all good. I think that Sanji is an excellent casting. They did a great job with getting kind of the core of Sanji, but giving him his own little live action twist. Really, I think that all of them are the base, but a little bit different for a different format, except for Iñaki, I think just is Luffy. So I think they did a really good job in that way, that it's honoring the source material, but also this is its own thing. It is its own thing, and we can appreciate it as its own thing.
Were you nervous when you saw that they were going to be adapting it and kind of hesitant to even watch it?
No, so I love really bad adaptations. I think that it's super funny.
You're living in the best era then.
Yeah, I was going to say,
right. Yeah.
You got the best lineup right now.
Right. So Full Metal Alchemist, the original Avatar adaptation, all these really janky live actions to me are so funny. So I was we're doing One Piece. It's either going to be fun to talk about or fun to laugh at. Either way, I win.
Okay, that's a great way to approach it.
What about y'all? What have been your impressions of it?
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I was a little unsure about it just because I knew nothing about the manga. Really, the only thing I knew about One Piece was actually from your channel, because I would see you kind of talking about pirate things that you should read, and my mom loves pirate stories, so I actually watched that YouTube thing that you did about pirate stories with her, and she had a notepad taking notes. And then when it got to One Piece, I was like, you're probably not gonna like One Piece, Mom. Manga is probably not gonna be your thing. But I was like, I'm actually kind of interested in what this is about. And then I think it wasn't too long after I saw that video that they started talking about the live adaptation. I was like, well, I'll watch it because I think it looks interesting. So I really knew nothing other than the fact that it seemed satirical and a bit absurdist. And that was pretty much it. Like, I knew that this kid was elasticy, and that was literally the end of my knowledge. I was like, all right, cool. We'll go in and just hope for the best kind of thing. And the first episode, I was fine. And I was like, okay, this is like, okay. I'm not really sure what age group this is directed at. And that I found really confusing for the first couple episodes. Because then in the second episode, when Buggy shows up, I was like, this isn't for children at all. Like, what are we dealing with here? Like, I was so confronted with like trying to place it in a genre, in a category, in an age group. Like, I just couldn't wrap my mind around it. And then I really liked episode 3 and 4. And then when Sanji showed up, I was really, really happy because I love Sanji and Zeph. That storyline was my favorite. The whole
Sanji had the best episodes, didn't he?
Yes. So good.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
The best ones.
They
yeah.
were the strongest.
Yes. Yes. I've watched the Sanji episodes, I think 3 times through, and each time I held up 2 fingers. I'm super smart. And each time I have cried my whole way through them. They're so good.
They're great. Yeah. I really, really love those. But that was my experience. It was very basic. Yeah. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, mine's kind of basic too. I'm always one of those people that like avoid things that like are talked about a lot. So I like pushed it off for the longest time, and I didn't really get engaged with One Piece. And then the show came along, and I thought, this is a good opportunity because up until the show, I've only the only manga I've been reading was Vinland Saga, and it's because of you and your things with Philip, your conversations with Philip. So I was like, okay, because Philip's a little closer to my age. So I was like, okay, if Philip's reading manga, then I know I can read manga.
It's not just Murphy being an idiot, right?
Dr. Philip Chase.
Exactly. If the doctor likes it.
All right, now I need like more manga.
So how did that work for you, Chris? Because Vinland Saga has a more serious tone. It has it's far less absurdist. It's a lot more like, intense. So how was that transition for you?
So I think it was kind of like the way to break in too. I wanted something deliberately that was a little more sober because I am more of a darker reader of fantasy, more of the grim dark and all that. So I seen anime shows, and sometimes they're totally animated and there's a bunch of yelling and screaming, and it kind of takes me out of it a little bit.
Just
sometimes.
say Dragon Ball, it's okay
when it's like too animated. So but no, I think Vinland was just a good break-in, and then I kind of got a little more into it. So when the show came around, and that's when I was like, hey Laura, you want to give this a chance and see how it goes. And I the first episode really hooked me, and I can understand people's attachment, especially to Luffy. He's just that character you're kind of just drawn to, his like positive attitude and that just like charismatic care for like people following their dreams and all that. So it just kind of clicked with me. And then of course the show grew, especially when we got into the Sanji episodes, which I think were also the strongest. Although I think I'm a little more of a Zoro fanboy.
Oh, you like the moody boy.
I like this. I like the more sober samurai kind of warriors kind of people.
Okay.
That's Sanji's right up there. Definitely.
I think Zoro has got to be the hardest one to adapt because that strong, silent, I don't care, but also I freaking hate Sanji. Like that kind of character is hard to pull off without seeming try hard. And I think that the actor did a very good job, but there were times that I was like, getting into cheesy territory over here. And so anyway, if you like the live action Zoro, then I think that if you did ever try the manga or the anime, you would really like the original Zoro.
Okay. So how do you feel in terms of characterizations they've done in terms of bringing them from page to screen? Do you feel like for the most part, the essence of the characters are kind of what they are in the manga? Or do you feel that they really had to because one of the things that I'm getting a little tangential right now, but when we did our last episode or the last 2 episodes, when it was Nami's storyline, I personally was really let down by that storyline. Like I thought it was going to be a lot bigger than it was. And I felt very underwhelmed with
Tell
the
me
reveals.
specifically what it was that disappointed you about Nami's storyline.
So the big thing for me was the scene with her mom basically being like, don't come out. And then the mom saying to Arlong, I've got 2 daughters, like 2 minutes later. And I had to actually pause the show because I was so frustrated and sat there and thought, why on earth did you just do this? This doesn't make any sense to me. And it took me out of the watching experience, which for me, I never get back into it if I've been taken out of it like that. And I just struggled with the decisions that they were doing. And I found that the air of mystery that had been surrounding Nami the whole season was really interesting because while I liked our other characters, she really was the mysterious one of the group just because they kept prolonging getting to that backstory. So when they did get to it, and I was like, oh, okay, like this is fine. It's just not what I was expecting. I didn't like the reactions with her sister and that she's like, oh, well, I didn't tell you because I didn't want to lose you. Like none of it really added up and made sense to me. And when we were doing our live discussions afterwards, a lot of the manga readers in our chat were saying they changed this from the manga. So I'm curious if you feel like overall they did a good job in translating them from the manga to the live action. And if you were happy with it, all of the changes, because I haven't read the manga, but I found Nami's storyline to be difficult at the end.
Yeah.
How sensitive are we about manga spoilers in this discussion?
I would say season 1 stuff is fine.
Yeah, anything.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, so you're okay with me specifically saying what was changed?
oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. That's
been the
Okay.
basis for a lot of our comments.
because like
Okay,
Robin says,
so do you know that when Arlong appeared at Belmare's house, she wrapped her leg around his neck, brought him down, and then grabbed her shotgun and shoved it in his mouth? She won. Like, she had the upper hand there. In the live action, he just batted that thing away like she didn't even have it. And I understand that they wanted to beef up Arlong because they didn't have as much time to establish him, but they killed Belmare by taking away that epic scene. But also, so yes, a lot of the problems you have, I think, would be resolved with the source material, because the scene with Belmare, what had happened was she was the guy with the windmill on his hat, you know, with all all the scars. He actually was trying to ferry the girls away. He was trying to get them off to sea, to get them so that they wouldn't be taken in, and so that Belmare could afford. I know it would have been epic. So that Belmare could afford to survive, because you couldn't afford to pay for the kids too.
Right.
So he's trying to resolve that. Problem is, if they go off to sea, they die because they're children in a little boat
Like
off at
a
sea.
dinghy on the ocean. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like you lose, but like, hey, maybe you won't, drown. Or starve to death, or all that. And so anyway, Belmare, she was unwilling to let the girls have that kind of fate to save herself, and so she declared, "Oh no, I have 2 daughters," so that she could take the punishment, so that they could live. She gave them their chance at life. And in the live action, I think it's just because it happened so fast, we don't get that kind of context. And unfortunately, the guy with the windmill hat, he was like, he's so good. He's such an important character, and he was just kind of shoved aside. Again, understandable.
I could see that. Yeah. Because they had it named and all that. So I figured if they had named characters and they just kind of pushed to the side.
You got the vibe he was meant to be important, and then you're like, oh, they're kind of just breathing through this.
Yes. So like, you only have 8 episodes. There's only so much you can do. This is 100 chapters that you're cramming into 8 episodes. So they had to strip a lot of characters down to their bones to make it work, which is understandable. But a big part of what makes One Piece such a rich story is that each location you go to is a living, breathing world of its own. There's a plethora of characters that have their own stories, that have their own significance to the plot, that make that island what it is. It's not just a cool setting that our characters get to explore it and punch a bad guy and then move on. That would be very boring. Instead, it is a world that has its own cultures, its own beliefs, its own trials that it's been under, its own suffering, and its own things that it needs to be rescued from. In comes Straw Hats, but then when they leave, that world is still moving. And the next time we see those characters, they're in a different set on the board. They're in a different place on the board because the world is living and breathing. And unfortunately, the live action didn't have the freedom to do that in 8 episodes.
Right.
So yeah, the reason for Nami's tattoo. That's the other thing is Nujiko, I think is Nami's sister's name.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nojiko. So the whole town, this is the thing, the whole town knew what Nami was doing. So Nami was enslaved by Arlong, and that was her payment to keep that town alive, right?
Yeah.
And she was doing this to pay off their debt. And the thing is that the entire town knew that she was doing this, but they acted like they hated her and they acted like they didn't know, so that if ever she chose to just give up and go live her life, she would have no guilt. She would have no reason to feel like she has to keep fighting for them.
Yeah.
So what's really cool is when there's the climax to the arc when everything is hopeless. Nami, the money's been taken. Nami realizes that like this isn't going to work. I'm never going to be able to pay off their debt. And she comes running back to town and she tells them, "It's okay. I'll just start saving again. I can do this. I'll do it again. Give me a few more years. We're all going to be free." And Windmill Hat Guy just holds her. He just hugs her and he says, "You must be so tired. Let us fight for you this time." So like it's all of your problems are solved in the source material.
Yeah, that's kind of what was being implied in the chat, but we just didn't get the full explanation for it. I mean, Omega Tech 16 has been really wonderful in our chats that they offer a lot of valuable information.
He's like, "No, you guys need to read it." It's
that is such a One Piece fan.
Yeah,
I'm glad you liked it, but
yeah, exactly. You know,
so
but,
Murphy, would you say that was probably the maybe the worst thing that happened with the adaptation to Manga?
No, I honestly think that they did Usopp more dirty than they did Nami.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
He's my least favorite, other than
he's kind of just there.
He doesn't really have much motivation or role or personality. Yeah. So there's a couple of scenes that really Usopp got robbed of, and really his motivation and his dream, none of it got an emphasis in this live action. And there are certain things that it's like, okay, I respect that you, again, have 8 episodes. It is what it is. That's because Usopp sucks. All right, Rogue 6. Let's calm down, shall we? He did become a background, but there were certain things that they didn't need to change. Like certain things, like the scene where he's fighting Chew, the fish man with the big lips. And he does the catch-up thing, and then he stands up, and then he's like, "Oh, let's fight some more." And it's like, what are you doing? You know, like, if you're going to do the catch-up thing, at least use the element of surprise. What are you doing? But in the manga, he did the catch-up thing, but it was like, he was planning on using the catch-up thing to get away. He was going to be a coward. But then he had this whole internal monologue where he was thinking about the excuses he'll make, and then he realized, I can't make these excuses. I have to fight, even if it costs me everything. And then he stands up and he starts fighting again. It's like this big character moment for him. Live action, it was just nothing.
That's a big change, yeah.
Sorry, I'm talking a lot. You guys go now.
No, but this is great because we're planning on reading the manga.
Really?
Rather likely, yeah. So I mean, at some point this year we wanna start it. But it's interesting to know just because I can never remember Usopp. Is that how you say his name?
Usopp?
Yeah. In my brain, I'm like, it's Usopp. And I'm like, no, it's not. So Usopp, I really liked his scenes with Kaya because I felt like those were character building scenes. And then the second that he leaves her and he's a part of the Straw Hat crew, I'm like, we're not really getting anything here other than the fact that he's supposed to be comedic relief, but we already have that through Luffy. So he almost feels a little bit redundant in a lot of his scenes, which is really unfortunate because we can see that he offers great depth and emotional stability to people with his storytelling. And I was like, that's such a nice foil to the absurdist nature of Luffy or the sternness of Zoro and the kind of combativeness of Nami. It fits in really nicely as a puzzle piece.
Yeah,
and that just all gets stripped away because they make him a secondary Luffy. And I was saying when we got near the end too, I was like, I just don't feel like he's offering much to these scenes. Like if he wasn't there, I wouldn't miss him. So it's interesting that that was actually a really big moment for him, because I would never have known that. Not even a little bit.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about the role that Usopp plays. He is a very grounding character. You know, we live in this adventurous, magical, crazy world with doofuses of characters, and Usopp is the one that looks at a fishman who's stronger than all of them and goes, "Oh no, I don't want to fight that. No thanks." You know, and Zoro's like, "Oh, I just got cut open, but yeah, let's fight." You know, like it's a different dynamic, right?
Yeah.
So that's exactly the role that he serves. It's just he wasn't given the attention that he needed. I do think that I like Jacob. I like the actor that played Usopp.
Yeah.
But I think writing wise, he got kind of put aside.
Okay.
I think you're right. I think they do plan to go into Usopp more in season 2. I hope they do, at least. And I want to be clear too that I loved the live action. I loved it so much. We just happened to be getting into the critiques first.
That's fine. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, it ebbs and flows, right? Because in certain scenes where you love aspects about certain characters, you kind of then don't love other aspects about other characters because they're choosing to give highlighted moments to certain people and take them away for other people.
Right.
But I am going to get it out of the way quickly because people know this from our chat. I hate Kobe, like with a visceral passion. So is he always like that, like in the manga? Is he like that forever? Because I don't know if my heart can take it.
Chat, is Kobe always the sniveling scaredy cat?
We had one Kobe liker on our show, I think.
Yes, we did. Tori loves Kobe.
Maybe 2.
Yeah.
Okay. No. I will say no. Kobe gets some development.
Okay.
My hope
for good development.
My hope for Kobe was kind of like the Sansa Stark character, where you don't really care for them in the beginning, but maybe they grow on you because they have the best character development. So that's my hope for Kobe.
Yeah, so Kobe, he starts out as a terrified character.
That's a bold claim. That's all I'm gonna say.
So there's a lot of character growth for a lot of characters in the series. It's 1,000 chapters long. Yeah. So we get a lot of time for them to grow with the world.
And it's still being released, correct? Like it's not
perpetually constipated. Look. That's true, though.
It's true. Sorry, Chris.
No, that's actually true.
Yeah, 100%. This was, I think it was Rob from Punk Rock Cereal Bowl when we had him on earlier in our season. And he nailed it on the head. For me, the main issue with Kobe is that it would seem that he would kind of have a little bit of growth throughout the episode. And then at the start of the next episode, it was all erased. And we would start from fresh, brand new again.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I think the growth that they kind of focused on for the live action was more for the sake of the viewer to recognize that this world isn't made up of the institutions of good and the institutions of bad. So it really emphasized Kobe realizing that the Navy isn't full of good guys exclusively, and the pirates aren't full of bad guys exclusively, and realizing that it's who you choose to be within the institution that you choose to align with. And that's a lot of what this world does, is handles that gray area of the powers that be aren't one thing. Except for the Celestial Dragons.
Yes. What did you think of how they portrayed the villains I'm using when in quotations in the show? Because Mihawk was my favorite. Like I loved him.
Mihawk was my favorite too.
So much.
The actor they got for him too was killer, eh?
Yes, so good. Oh my gosh, my husband walked through the room like he didn't watch it with me and only caught scenes with Mihawk. He's like, I like this guy, and I was like, me too. He's so great.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm like, oh, I want redemption arc. I want redemption arc. I want him to be Luffy's friend.
Yeah. So, did you like the Mihawk Zoro fight?
Yes.
Yes and no.
Laura, I was gonna talk to you about that. We've had discussion about elongated fight scenes on the show, and we're curious if you kind of felt the same way. If you felt like they might have gone too long for the show amount of time we have for each episode, or they were fine for you.
Interesting. I think that because I have the context around them, I was looking at them and thinking, oh, he did that move. That's exactly like the manga. Look at what he's doing here. Look at that thing. And so I nerded out a little bit. So I couldn't really, I can't give an objective opinion about pacing.
Sure.
I can just say I got to nerd out and it was exciting.
Yeah, we just found, especially when it came to the Nami stuff at the end, where so much of that last episode was fighting. And I was like, we could have dedicated so much of this time to the development of that relationship with Nami's mom or fully fleshing out that story. So for me, I struggled in those moments because this is a universal thing for me. This isn't just a One Piece thing where I don't tend to really gravitate towards a lot of battle sequences when I feel like it's depriving a good narrative of explaining more so why things are happening. And I felt like we weren't fully fleshing things out in the way that was necessary because we decided to allocate that stuff to battle sequences or fight sequences. And I mean, there were definitely moments that we picked up on where the way that they choose to angle the camera, we were like, oh, I think they're trying to repanel stuff from the manga, which is really cool that they're doing that because it shows that they're paying attention to that type of thing for the manga readers and not alienating their original audience, which is really nice. But for me, yeah, I didn't love some of the sequences that I found went on a little bit too long, but specifically the Zoro and Mihawk one. I liked the sequence itself, but I found it was I struggled with Zoro making that decision to fight Mihawk. I was like, I feel like we've jumped a little bit here where it's like,
yeah,
we made this decision as like a 7-year-old that we were going to become the greatest fighter in the world, which is fine and admirable. And we're working towards that goal. But like saying that you're going to fight Mihawk is just stupid. I was like, we've jumped the gun just a little bit. Like, let's pull the reins back and maybe practice more and then we can fight Mihawk. But
I think he's definitely got him. I think he's definitely got a bit of pride, and I think maybe that's why he's like, "Oh yeah, I got this" kind of thing. And
yeah.
So I will say, I'm sorry for being a One Piece fan. Let me just throw that out there because we are obnoxious. So
maybe you invite the wrong guests. I don't know.
you have to deal with a little bit of obnoxiousness if you're going to invite a One Piece fan. So I will say that One Piece does have its long fights. That is going to be in whatever format you choose. However, the original source material, I think, does a really good job of putting meaning behind most of the fights. Okay. So, like, for instance, the Mihawk fight, and I think it was present in the live action, just maybe less evident. There is some very character growth that happens with Zoro through this fight. He switches from being a one-man show who's begrudgingly following along to devoting himself to his captain and pledging that he will give his all to him. Mm-hmm. Instead of just going after, I want to be the world's strongest swordsman, so I fight you now because I want to, right? Yeah. I think the fight sequences in I really am. I think the fight sequences in the final 2 episodes are the most egregious as far as
I felt very much the same. In terms of Omega Attack, I didn't have an issue with like how long that fight scene was. Specifically for the Zoro and Mihawk one, I just felt like it was a rush decision for him to fight Mihawk. But I get what you're saying because it does then form this sort of bond between him and Luffy and also subconsciously between him and Nami, which is interesting. And I didn't mind that, but I definitely agree. Those last 2 episodes, I was like, this is so much wasted time, in my opinion. And it just felt like there was so much Arlong and there was so much fighting and there was so little character development for Nami. I didn't love it.
So to respond to Farawak, we need to keep in mind that we have a lot more context than the live action viewers do. So for us, we got really acquainted with Zoro's goal, with his. I mean, y'all got a great flashback with Zoro and Karina.
Yeah.
Not Karina. What's Zoro's bestie's name?
That I do not remember.
All right, it's
Omega Tech. Do you know?
no, it's cool.
Kuina?
Is it Kuina?
Kuina, Kuina.
Okay, all right. I second guessed myself.
Yeah, there it is.
Y'all got a great flashback, but as far as what happened, what motivated Zoro, the journey he went on, we get a lot more that we get to project onto the live action that y'all got just like snapshots of. Anyway, so for the Arlong fights, there's one bit, fell down the stairs, girl. There's one bit that that a section of the fight that got completely cut, which is just devastating because it's like one of the greatest bits, but y'all are going to get to experience it when you read the manga. So I'll let that be something that you get to experience, because I've already told you too much if you're going to read it.
Wow. Honestly, I'm not one of those people. I don't get very particular about spoilers, just because a spoiler is. Yeah, I mean, to me, a spoiler is one specific blip in a story, and I'm like, but I have no context of how we get to that moment and what the fallout and reaction is from that. So it doesn't really bother me in the way that some other people get bothered by it. But
just know that, especially in the beginning, the fight sequences, while they are long, they serve the purpose, especially in East Blue, they serve the purpose of this crew coming together as a family, learning to work together as a team and make sacrifices for one another, not just fighting their own goals, because each of them came to the table with their own goals, but coming together as a family to fight for each other's goals. So the fights, hopefully while they may go on too long for your taste, which is perfectly reasonable, hopefully you'll be able to appreciate what is being accomplished through them. They're not just there for petty action.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I think for us, me and Laura anyway, I think why episode 2 I think was our weakest, which was the buggy episode, was like you said, we didn't have the chance to grow with the characters quite yet, and Buggy's episode is very action oriented, so we didn't get.
But Buggy's so good, though. Don't you love him?
I like him better now. I like him better in the later episodes with just the head. I thought the head was hilarious.
He's so demented in the live action.
Yeah.
You're gonna get whiplash from the manga version of him. That's all I'll say.
I had a feeling about that, and this was something that we talked about a little bit, because I felt really conflicted after that second episode. I was like, I really don't know what I think of this show. And at that point, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to go on with it, like beyond episode 3. If episode 3 doesn't really improve for me, I think I'm kind of done, because it was very jarring from episode 1, which felt like a kid's show where we're getting these flashbacks with young Luffy and Shanks, and I was like, oh, this feels nice and wholesome, and he wants to be king of the pirates and so on and so forth. And I was like, and then next episode we have this guy that like disassembles his body and attacks people and has this weird circus. I was just like, what is happening? I do not know.
Where's the focus?
Exactly. I was so confused, and I find that for myself, I am a reader and observer that I like knowing rules relatively early on. So not knowing how the magic works in this world or what the magic really is in this world, I was like, okay, I need to just kind of
just say you're a Brandon Sanderson fan. It's okay.
Exactly. And I was like, I need to take a step back here and say, I'm just gonna roll with this and see what happens. And then I found by episode 3, I was like, okay, this is progressing in a way now that I feel more comfortable with. But I agree with Chris. I very much liked Buggy better in the latter half of the season. And I'm curious to see what happens with him going forward now that we've kind of had that animosity between him and the rest of the crew, which I think is kind of fun. But I am curious to see what happens with Buggy. Because also there was that question, like, Chris and I watched it when we watched it the first time. We were like, okay, Buggy's not like gone though, right? Like, I feel like he's gonna obviously have like a much bigger role in this story. Because I was like, I don't even know if Alvita is dead based on the fact I am a person that if I don't see a body, I'm like, oh, they're definitely alive, like 100% alive. So when we got to Zoro's episode, I told Chris, I was like, I looked it up and that girl is dead because I didn't believe that the best friend was dead. I did not believe it at all.
I thought she was still going to be alive.
100%. I was like, girlfriend's going to show up and like, they're going to fight each other or something weird later on. Like, I don't know what's going on, but
that would have been great.
Would have been really interesting. But I am curious to see, because we get that little snippet at the end of the season that our villains that we were presuming to be gone are actually still present, where that's gonna go. So overall, did you feel like they did a good job with their villains for the most part?
Depicting them?
Yeah.
They're different, but yeah, they're their own version of the villains. Buggy especially is his own version of the villain. I think they did Arlong pretty well though.
Okay.
I think one of our strongest things based on the episodes we watched and all that was the flashback scenes with each of our characters as kids. And those were like some of our strongest scenes, especially Sanji, I think particularly stands out. So that one was really powerful. I think young Nami, for me, I liked it. Forgetting about the cut part of the mother scene with the protecting her kids.
Shotgun in the mouth.
But does that play out in the manga? Do they play out those like backflash scenes kind of essentially the same way, or?
They did a good job. To me, the Luffy flashback I thought was pretty weak in the live action. I think that it's much stronger in the manga.
I agree.
Sadly, the Usopp flashback is barely there in both versions.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's more in the manga. But no, the Sanji one was excellently adapted. The Nami one, they did have changes, but they did a good job, I think, for her. Who am I missing? Zoro. The Zoro one, I thought they actually did a killer job with Zoro. I think that's probably the most impressive flashback.
And really? You like that more than Sanji?
As far as how they adapted it.
Okay.
With Zoro's, I think they added to it. Like they made it possibly even stronger. With Sanji, they just adapted it so well that it was like, great, 10, excellent.
Okay, that was going to be my question for Sanji's is how accurate that was from the manga, because I really loved that. Him and Zeph, I could just watch him and Zeph, and I would be so happy.
No, I agree. As far as the live action goes, I would take a Sanji Zeph story. Like, forget the rest of the story. Just give me them. Make me a spinoff. I'll take it.
And I think somebody told us that the Zeph and Garp scene, when Garp came to Zeph's restaurant, that didn't even happen in the manga.
That's true.
And I thought that was a really strong scene, actually.
They actually patted Garp a ton in the live action.
Are you happy with that decision?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it was fine. I don't hate it. Some people really hate it. But they drug Garp forward. Like he doesn't have a presence in East Blue. They drug him forward to have a continuous conflict. Sure. But they also patted him to the point that it was like, okay, we have a lot of things that you're skipping over that would be great to have so that we can have some more Garp in his office playing a game with Kobe. You know what I mean? So I'm like, maybe we don't need that much.
Yes, exactly. So great. More Kobe scenes that are unnecessary.
Kobe hates
the actor that goes for Garp, though.
Yeah, I didn't feel like any of the adult cast was poorly cast at all. I thought everyone did a really great job.
I wanted the Shanks casting.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I really like Shanks.
I know, I feel bad because I think the actor did a good job. I just I don't like him for Shanks.
Okay. That's interesting because when we were watching it, the person that I struggled with the most was young Luffy. I was like, he does not seem anything like older Luffy. And I was like, I don't buy this kid as Luffy. I just don't. And I know that it's one of those things that you're like, okay, well, he's a kid and kids grow up and people change. But I just didn't love his actor, but I loved young Sanji. I thought young Sanji was amazing.
Yeah, child actors are so tricky, and it's hard to critique them because it's like, yeah, it's a kid, you know?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I do agree. I think that the casting for young Luffy was on the weak side.
Yeah. Yeah. I loved young Sanji though. so much.
Well,
I mean, yeah, so good.
I love Sanji. I love Sanji. Chat, I love Sanji. One Piece, I love Sanji. But he is super different in the manga. So just go in knowing you're going to get a different... Like, they did a good job at getting Sanji and making him his own. Okay. But just know that he'll be different.
In a better way?
I don't know. It just depends on what you like, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
He has a little bit less riz.
Then, because you're a big Sanji lover.
I am. I do love Sanji. Yeah. Well, also because he cooks, and
so he cooks in the manga.
That's what I want.
Passionate about food. Very passionate about food. I love both versions of Sanji too. Sanji is a little bit less suave and cool, and a little bit more like an anime character.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big animated mouth and all that. Yep.
More simpy.
So is there something overall that you felt that the live action did better than the manga? Is there anything, or is that totally blasphemous to think that it did anything better?
Yes, it is actually. I do think that they improved on Zoro's flashback. I think that they gave it a little bit more time to breathe, and they did a great job with it. No, that's all. I loved the live action, but the source material is something pretty great.
That's awesome, though. If you can like both, that's really great.
Yeah. I do love their choice with how they went with Buggy. But Buggy is one of my top characters. So, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just going to say, it's just definitely weird to approach this form of media differently. Like, I'm usually a book reader before any kind of live action show. Last show being Wheel of Time. Me and Laura talked about that heavily, and that was very controversial. But doing it this way, I think was a different, unique experience, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do that again. I don't know.
I think that the live action is a gift because it's showing that live actions can be done well. It's a fresh way of experiencing the story, which is just fun for fans, but also for a lot of people who look at One Piece and they're like, wow, 1,000 chapters, no thanks. It's like, this is a great entry point, and this is a great way of saying, all right, I can commit to 8 episodes, and then because the core is there, you can say, oh, maybe I would like this story. And to me, like, wow, what a gift to the fandom to introduce more people to the story that otherwise never would have tried it.
Mm-hmm. So is it just 1,000, or is it still being made? The manga?
Oh yeah, no, it's still being made.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, I think it's still being made, right?
You started a second channel probably because of One Piece, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
What was it about the One Piece manga that really won you over to manga?
That's a good question. I think so. I never used to read comics. I've never done any sort of anime. Like I've been a book purist, and I tried to get into some manga because some of my commenters were just like, I really think that you would like these stories too. And I tried several really popular, really loved series, and I just could not get into it. Like it was just so different, and I'm dyslexic too, so it was a challenge to learn. You are too, Chris?
Yeah, really bad.
Yeah. So it was a challenge to learn a whole new format for reading in another direction.
I never even thought of it like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I never knew which bubble to read first because they weren't like in a line. And so it was so challenging for me. But I kept trying here and there. And with One Piece, I it had a readability to it that it was like, this is I can casually read this. I read it very, very slowly, and I had gotten a decent chunk into it before I realized, oh wow, this story is actually a lot more than I thought it was. Like I thought it was a charming adventure that was just like fun to read on the side, but it's like this world is deep, and these characters I suddenly love with my whole heart. And it was just it's kind of snuck up on me. I didn't realize that it was going to be a story that was more than just a fun adventure, that it was actually going to have so much depth, so much intricate world building, so much intentionality where things tie back in, 100 chapters later, or 200, 300, 400 chapters later. So it just proved what it is. And I couldn't fight it.
He releases a chapter a week. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah. Well, usually like 3 a month.
Still, that's a lot.
we got a way to go there, Laura.
Yeah, we've got quite a bit of reading to do, it seems like. Yes, I think it being pirates would probably sell you, right?
I do like me my pirate stories, man.
Yeah.
That's so funny. So what are you hoping for season 2? Is there anything in particular that you're like, I really hope we see something like this? I hope we kind of veer away from that. Like, what are your overall hopes and aspirations for season 2?
Yeah, that's really hard to answer without giving spoilers. I would love... So I think one thing about Garp is, and a friend of mine noted this, and I'm acknowledging that this isn't my original thought. But one of the things about Garp, probably a reason they padded him so much, is because set-wise, it's easier to put him in his office again than to build a whole new set again. And they put so much into those sets to make them as gorgeous as they were.
Yeah, gorgeous sets.
Yeah. And like we reused a couple of sets for convenience, and we condensed some things, and of course we did. Like the money that goes into this is astronomical.
Yeah.
So now we're leaving this area, and we're going to multiple islands, and we're going to this vast, like we're going into this like rainforesty jungle. We're going into this desert. Like there's so many different things in this next section of the story. So I think my biggest concern is how much they're going to cut out of necessity for budget set-wise, which again, the world of One Piece is a big part of what makes One Piece so alive. And the live action feels a little bit more cardboard. So I would love to see them find creative ways to keep the world breathing. And I would love for them to really put an emphasis on each of the characters getting the room to be a character and not a caricature.
Sure. That makes sense.
I think just from promotional pictures I've seen of One Piece, and like, of course, looking like visually at a manga book in the bookstore or something like that, I know that there's more crew as well on the horizon. But like maybe 3 or 4 more crew members.
I'm not going to answer that.
Okay. But there are more crew, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
My big thing is I'm wondering if they ever get to the Grand Line. Like that for me is I'm genuinely curious, just because I'm like,
I won't answer that either.
No, and I'm not expecting you to. It's just one of those things that I'm like, okay, if the manga is still going, my assumption is the One Piece has not been found. So like it almost feels like Homer's Odyssey, where it's taking forever to get home and like get to the One Piece. So I'm curious to see like all these little sub areas that we go to maybe before we get to the Grand Line. If we get to the Grand Line, I don't know. I'm curious to see where they're gonna end up next season and who they might pick up along the way.
Yes, that is part of the joy, because Chris, you are right. We have more crewmates to collect, and it's amazing, but the live action is already kind of not giving those crewmates the breath that they deserve. So as we keep adding on, we want to
get, character development.
It's going to get harder. Yeah, it's going to get a lot harder. So I don't know. I really hope they get more episodes. Like at least give us 10 for Alabasta.
I don't understand 8. Why do they keep doing 8 for everything?
Yeah, Netflix has a formula.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a
Except The
formula.
Crown. Except The Crown. It's the only show that they give 10 episodes to, and that series just ended.
Didn't
so
Arcane get 9?
maybe.
Arcane also got batch drops instead of all at once.
Oh,
And I
really?
just like, Netflix, I beg you. Why are we doing this format? Give us batch drops, please. Like if
Yes.
they had released One Piece in pairs, that would have been so much better than all at once.
I'm
But
excited
anyway.
I'm excited for Arcane season 2.
Me too.
I haven't watched season 1, so apparently
Oh,
I'm out of
Laura,
That's
the
your
Laura.
next time we should watch
Laura,
together.
you have to watch it.
It's so good.
I have no idea what it's about.
Yeah, so I couldn't agree more. We need at minimum 10 to make the next arc work. Somebody just said we're not touching Alabasta in season 2 in the chat, and I hope that's not true because season 2 is going to feel real unfocused if we don't do Alabasta. And the problem too is that the conclusion to the second arc is big. It's huge scale. So please don't make it a small battle. Please let it be what it is.
Yeah. I hear you.
Definitely something to look forward to.
We need Alabasta. That seems to be the general consensus in the chat here. Yeah.
Do you do rating systems, Murphy?
I'm very inconsistent on if I do rating systems or not, but if you tell me to do it, I'll do it. Do you want me to rate it?
Yeah.
Do you want me? Yeah, I was going to say, do you want to rate maybe the overall season or?
Yeah. Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Yeah, either you or Laura, or I can go.
I think for live action, it's a 10 out of 10. For removing the fact that live actions typically are like a 1, then I will like just reviewing it as just a series. I think that it's like a solid 8, 8.5 maybe.
Wow. Okay. I'd say I'm probably at a 7.
7 is good.
Yeah, but I don't have the connection yet to the material. So I'm curious if I catch up by the time season 2 comes around, if I have that connection to it, that I'll automatically kind of view it higher than I would previously.
I'm kind of an 8 too. I'm always usually a little more generous too.
Yes, I am notoriously a low grader.
That's okay.
I think this is, I mean, I can't base it on any kind of other source material, but I do think overall I enjoyed the show as a whole. I think there was only like maybe 1 to maybe 2 weak episodes for me. And overall, I've enjoyed every episode just for entertainment value and getting to know the characters are fun and colorful to follow. So I think that's kind of what gave it for me an 8. Yeah, absolutely.
I noticed neither of you brought up Usopp. You brought up Usopp, but you didn't bring up his episodes. How did you feel about episodes 3 and 4?
Oh, I liked. I think that's what helped Usopp a little bit for us, and it's funny that those
You
came.
did say you liked him. Sorry, you did. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I think it's funny that they started off strong with Usopp, and then he kind of fell kind of to the side character, like Laura was talking about, like the little backup humor character for Luffy. But those scenes with Kaya, I thought were really strong. I liked Kaya's character. I honestly, I thought maybe from season the first episode with Kaya, I thought she was actually going to be a crew member because there's a lot of emphasis with these two, and I wasn't sure.
Too sick.
I thought she was going to be a crew member, you know. So
yeah.
Yeah, I liked his scenes with Kaya quite a bit, but since then.
Yeah. See, I was not a fan of episodes 3 and 4, and that actually really knocked the series down a little bit for me because I thought that those episodes were a little bit more weak. Now, I'm not the popular opinion on that, but I don't know. Just I thought the mansion was really pretty, but we spent so much time there. And I'm already not a big fan of Kuro, the villain with the claws.
Yeah, I didn't love him.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of him in the manga, and I thought the live action just made him like cartoony, like it was so much. It was so much.
Yeah.
I think it was the second episode of that arc where he's kind of cat and mousing them through almost the entire episode. I think that was our other weak one for us, Laura. wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where it was like the whole episode with him just chasing him down the hallway, and we're like, oh my god, something happened, kind of thing.
Thank you. Yes, that's exactly how I felt. If that was one episode, then I would have liked it a lot more.
Yeah,
but
I said the same.
yeah. But no, the Sanji episodes were 10 out of 10. Those were perfection to me. Like,
Yeah. I really, really
oh my
liked
goodness.
those. Those were my highest rated of the season.
Yeah,
I really,
they're
really
ours
enjoyed
too.
them.
Yeah, mine too.
I mean,
They were
it's
amazing.
hard to go wrong with Sanji and Zaf. They just.
How do you rank the Straw Hats so far? It's just as preference.
Laura?
Sanji's first, without question. I would say probably Luffy next then for me. And I would have been Nami had the storyline been a bit different, but it's going to be Zoro, Nami, and Usopp. Yeah.
Good ranking. Chris?
I have to go Zoro, just a little smidge higher than Sanji. Luffy, I grew to like him right away. But because you know him right away, it's kind of like what you see is what you get. So I didn't feel like there was like a lot of complexity to Luffy, and maybe that's the point of Luffy. He's kind of like he's still high up on the list, but not as high as Sanji and Zoro, and then Nami, and then poor Usopp. Yeah, just at the bottom.
Or Usopp.
Yeah.
How about you, Murphy?
For the live action characters, it goes Sanji, Luffy, probably Zoro, Nami, Usopp. I'm probably matching you, Laura.
Yeah. And how about for the manga?
Zoro,
type thing.
Zoro, Luffy. For East Blue, specifically talking about East Blue. Because my ranking would shift outside of that. Zoro, Luffy, Nami, Sanji, Usopp.
Okay. I don't tend to see a lot of love for Usopp in the manga. Like, is he an unpopular character?
I think he's probably a kind of a divisive character. Like the Usopp fans go hard. But a lot of people, I think, put him near the bottom.
Interesting. I'm curious when we get to the manga how I'm going to feel, because now I have these kind of preconceived ideas of them in my head, and it's hard to divorce that.
A little bit for you.
Yeah. I mean, that would be nice. It's usually the reverse, kind of what Chris was saying, that I usually also read the material first and then go into an adaptation. And for me, my best adaptations have been Good Omens, because I love Neil Gaiman so much. And anytime he's involved in an adaptation, I'm like, it's really good. And when I read the book initially, I didn't picture the characters as I now do. I'm like, oh, David Tennant is Crowley and Michael Sheen is Aziraphale. Like, that's how it is in my brain. So I'm interested now going into the manga if I am going to be able to kind of look at the characters as they're drawn or as the live action people in my brain.
Honestly, there are certain scenes now, specifically Sanji scenes, that when I go back to the source material, I hear the performance of the live action because it was just so strong.
So good, yeah.
You'll probably hear Luffy's voice as Iñaki.
Mm-hmm. Likely, yeah, most likely. Which isn't a bad thing because I thought he did a really great job.
Yeah. Have you watched the manga? The anime, Murphy?
Not very much. I've only seen a few episodes. We just started a new arc, so I've just started watching the anime with the new arc because I got caught up when we were in the middle of an arc.
Oh, cool. I know that there's so many of the anime episodes as well. There's so many. Right?
Yeah, the voice acting in the anime though, like Luffy's voice in the Japanese is like, oh, it's so good. It's so good.
I watched Alan's video on his relationship with One Piece, which was really great. If people want to go watch that. And Alan, I'm supporting your channel because he's mad at me right now.
He's mad at everybody right now.
All the time. So it's fine. But it was interesting just kind of seeing his evolution with the anime because I for the most part, have only encountered people that have read the manga. And I was like, oh, this is coming at it from a different angle too. And we've now got this trifecta, right, of people coming at it from the live action, from the anime, and from the manga. And it's really neat to kind of see what resonates for each individual people, if they can intersect at points. It's interesting for you that someone who so deeply loves the original source material that you go back to it now and you're like, oh, I hear it in this voice, or I see it in this way. That's just so cool. I love when stuff like that happens. Unless they change book covers to adaptation covers, and then I don't know.
They won't do that for manga.
No.
Japan is not that way.
No, which is
that is a Western curse.
Which is the way it should be.
So what would you say is, and Chris, I'm throwing this at you first because you're very gentlemanly. You always let Laura go first. What would you say is the thing that you think the thing that gets you the most about the live action, that makes you the most attached to the story?
I'm when I read, I'm very character focused. So it's not usually about the destination. It's always the how we're getting there and how characters interact. And I think there's just a connection to Luffy right away. I love the theme of following your dream, and he's very adamant about that and pushing that on other people. And I think that's just an admirable kind of thing to have in a character, is just being able to get angry when someone puts themselves down. And I think he just drives that really well. And then the complexity of these characters that have this mysterious past, even though we get a little bit of the play of their flashbacks and their scenes and their interactions with each other. And I'm always a Motley Crue reader as well too. I love the Motley Crue storylines, and I think just seeing this passion for following your dream, and I like that. I think it has just a simple message that really works for me.
I love that. So you connect with the characters and with the core message or the core heartbeat of the lead character. I like that.
Absolutely.
My answer is not too dissimilar. I'm also a very character-driven reader. I liked Luffy, and I liked this idea of I'm of the millennial generation. You know, we were very much told you can be anything you want to be when you grow up and everything like that. And Luffy kind of takes that, right? Like Luffy takes that to the extreme and is like, anyone can do anything that they want. And as long as it's their dream and they can dream it, they can be it. And I really liked that. But for me, honestly, it was the relationships, I think, more than anything else. And really, it was the Zeph and Sanji relationship more than anything else that took it away from me. And I talked about this when we watched that episode. Hey, Joanna, what's One Piece? Who knows, right? This scene in which Sanji leaves and the staff at the Barati come out to wave to him, and he has that exchange with Zeph from the boat. I was saying to Chris, when I moved from Canada to the US, like, it's not, a massive move in terms of that the countries neighbor each other, but culturally, it's actually a very big difference from where I was to where I am. And the morning I left was that, it was that with my parents, between Zeph and Sanji. And it felt so real and so raw to me. And I was like, this is very correct. And I like that it is an absurdist and satirical story that can still hit you in the feels with very real moments and pay homage to them in a respectful way to the characters. Like, Sanji wasn't breaking down, crying in the way that he, sobbing, trying to console me type thing. Like, he's yelling at him, you're an ass, how dare you save my life, basically, but I love you for saving my life. And I was like, this just feels true to the character that we've met in a very brief period of time. And it was something that I found to be very well executed by the show, in that in 8 episodes, for the most part, I felt like we really got to know the personalities of most of the Straw Hat crew. And this was something that we would directly contrast to our Wheel of Time experience, where we also had 8 episodes. And by the end of those 8 episodes, we were like, huh? We just didn't know things about people that we very clearly should have known. So I really felt that as I said earlier in the episode, I felt like there were certain moments that they could have allocated time a little bit better. But overall, I found that they did a very good job at saying to you, this is this character, know them. And then by the end of their episode, or by the end of their little arc, you really had a good feel for them. So that for me was probably the big stuff. How about you, Murphy?
Oh, golly. For the One Piece? I mean for the live action?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I can accurately answer that. I love the series, so I loved seeing it from a slightly different angle.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah,
I mean, it was just cool to see the story that I love and these characters that I love done a little different, given their own, like here's them from another angle, and letting it be its own thing, and just re-experiencing the series in a slightly different way. It was really cool.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, it's fun when you can come at it from your perspective, where it's an adaptation is going to be fun regardless of it being good or bad, because I think we kind of live in an era right now where people are very aggressive about
oh my gosh,
yeah, and it's nice to be able to kind of distance yourself from it a little bit and be like, either way, I'm going to enjoy this, so I'm here for the ride. If it's, I'm happy to be on it, or if it's the like, what a train wreck am I watching?
Yeah, I think the fandom expected a train wreck, and when they got something that was actually solid, maybe not perfect, but genuinely solid, it was like, what? This is amazing. Like, they actually did our story justice, which is like, it's a gift.
I like viewing it that way. It's a gift. I mean, I found that way. This is a little bit off topic, but Netflix, I think for the most part, has been the most successful with doing adaptations, because in the last year and a half or 2 years at this point, they did the Sandman adaptation, and then they've done One Piece, both of which have been generally very well regarded by the fandoms. So, I mean, obviously, like, Chris and I weren't super on board with watching One Piece right when it came out, because if we were, we would have been having this conversation in September, but we've taken our time getting there. But it's been really fun to see from the fandom's perspective that they were so elated with what they were given, in a sea of people that have been very bitter with the adaptations that they've been given for their fandom. So it was actually really nice to kind of come into it and be like, most people have liked this, so let's see what it's about, rather than coming into it and going like, okay, a lot of people have hated this. What are we getting into here?
I wonder, and this is kind of an awkward question to ask over live, so you can choose to answer me when we get off the live. But I know that the Wheel of Time discussions probably weren't fun because the internet wasn't fun during that.
Yeah, they were things.
Yeah. Just the same with Rings of Power. I don't know if y'all discussed that.
We didn't, but fun. I did the Rings of Power actually with my husband.
Great. So the internet was probably really annoying.
Yeah.
So, like,
we watched it all the way through, but I just didn't have anything to say after. I was just like, not even worth discussion.
Fair enough. What has been your experience? And again, you can give me a lie and then tell me the truth behind the lie. But like, has your experience been positive? Have you enjoyed discussing this with the fans?
Oh yeah, totally.
Oh yeah. Good. I think what saves us, me and Laura anyway, is because we're only basing all of our opinions on the show. We're not basing it on any kind of source material. So we're not really getting the hardcore fans like, no, you're wrong. You can't think that way. We're only getting the ones that, hey, this is our opinion about the show. This is what we think this character is going to do. This is why we didn't like, say, the Nami thing, or Kobe. Yeah. Both very unpopular opinions with us, because a lot of the people in the chat like Kobe and like Nami.
Yeah, because we have more context.
Yeah, but we're only basing it on what we've seen in 8 hours of television. So
yeah. My personal experience with the fandom has been just obscenely positive. It's like the fandom loves this story so much that they just love watching people fall in love with it too. And if I got stuff wrong or if I forgot a name every 2 seconds, they were
Yeah.
so gracious and excited to help me along my journey and so protective as well of like, do not spoil her. Don't, Murphy, don't read the comments. We want you to remain unspoiled. You know, like people really wanted to protect my journey.
Yeah.
And anyway, I've had such a positive experience with the fandom, and it's a big. Obviously, I adore the series, but the fandom is a big part of what makes the series so great as well. The community that I've gotten to, like, I've gotten my own nakama, my own crew, which has been amazing. So I was just curious if y'all had had a positive experience too, going into it through the live action.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think our comments have been really positive. They
Good.
kept spoiler free.
Yeah.
They're like, they'll say things like, just so you wait and see, kind of thing on this and all that. But they've been very positive about our opinions.
Good.
And I haven't really gotten attacked, or I don't think Laura has either. I mean,
Much more positive than Wheel of Time.
much more positive than Time. Luckily, the Wheel of Time shows were on Laura's channel, so she got all the comments.
Oh, I love that for you.
I did get all of them, but it doesn't really faze me. That's the thing. But I would always laugh when we were doing our Wheel of Time chats because there was one person I knew after every live was going to be in the comments telling me that I was wrong. And I started referring to him as Burner Rafe, as like a Rafe Judkins burner account, because like he would just defend the show with his life. And I was like, Burner Rafe, I know you're going to be there in like 15 minutes the second that this closes and comments are ready. Like I just knew. So even in that way, it still kind of was funny because I was like, I know something is going to be there when this is over. But we had, similarly to this, a very core group of people that would tune in for every episode that were book readers. And then in this case, the manga readers, where it was like, this is the missing information. We will be the missing link for you to kind of guide you through this. And it was really great because with Wheel of Time, I had read the first 3 books, and then Chris has read the whole series, but hasn't read it in quite some time. And then we would have people that are avid book readers of Wheel of Time that have reread it and were like, this is this, this is this, this is this. And with the manga, it's been very similar that people are like, they cut this, they changed this. This is going to be a little bit different when you read it. But I love that because I'm a hyper analytical person by nature. So I like knowing differences and I like having those gaps filled for me. And typically when it's coming from that kind of space, it's because someone loves something so much that they want to share that with you, right? Like they want you to experience that joy and that passion for the same things that they do. Yeah. And that's awesome. Like I love that.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad you guys have had I'm glad you guys have had such a good a positive response to them because it is it's a fandom that I've had an incredible experience with. And it is true that there are, if you are super negative on the series, then there are people that will do what the internet does. Yeah. But for the most part, it's a great fandom to be a part of.
Yeah, I know a few people that have put out some One Piece videos and they've been like, and I'm not doing that ever again. Like,
I hate that.
So yeah, I mean, but I've looked at your stuff before and seen like scrolled through some of the comments and stuff, and I'm like, okay, people are so nice.
Yeah.
Like Murphy has really nice comments. Like I don't know what's going on, but yeah.
In fact, I think I was looking through your material before I wanted to start this because I was like, what am I going to get into? I want to make sure I know what these people are going to be like. And they're like, oh, these are great. These are awesome.
Yeah.
And, so yeah, I was like, okay, I'm going to go forward with that then. I think I'm safe.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't even heavily mod my comments. Like that's just them. It's amazing.
That's awesome. How far into the manga are you now? Like, are you?
I'm week to week.
But okay, so you're caught up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how long did it take you to catch up?
I think it took me a full year, maybe just over a year. And the first, yeah. I'm really bad at time. It like moves weird. I don't know how long it took me. Sorry.
Where does he release this? Is this like it's published every week?
Yeah.
Or is
So if you decide that you do want to read the manga, the best method, in my opinion, is to get a subscription from Shonen Jump. You can read digitally. I have an iPad that I read on, so I have a nice big screen, and it's $3 a month, and you can read 100 chapters a day. So you may not read that much in a day. So it's basically unlimited. And a lot of people choose to buy physical, which is like neat, I guess, but crazy expensive.
Yeah, I don't need to do that.
I'm all digital.
Yeah, I just started reading manga for the very first time a few months ago, and I jumped in with Witch Hat Atelier, which wasn't really for me. And then I was like, you know what I'm gonna read? I'm gonna read Sailor Moon. Because I grew up watching the Sailor Moon anime and loved it so much. So I've been reading that, and I'm like, this is great. I love this. It's super nostalgic.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Only one that I think I'll probably own just because of the nostalgia factor for me. And that's the thing. It takes up so much space, and I'm already out of space. So
Tom's reading One Piece right now too.
Yeah, I think he started not that long ago. Tom, did you start?
Yeah, he's pretty early on.
Yeah. Tom and I just had a chat about Cosmere stuff, but we didn't chat about One Piece.
Tom and I kind of phased out a little bit on Vinland. We kind of slowed down on the second arc of Vinland Saga.
But okay. So you're not caught up on Vinland.
I just finished arc 2, so I'm on book 7. I have physical copies, but I think with One Piece, I'm definitely going to probably do digital, like you mentioned, because I won't have room on my bookshelves for.
Just keep in mind that Zoro's name will be Zolo, but you still pronounce it Zoro.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, and in Japanese, the L and the R they like exchange. So if you see an L in a name, it'll probably be pronounced as an R.
Okay, interesting. I'll probably need reminded of that.
Not Cosmere. I thought you were going to say One Piece because that's what we're talking about. It's true. It's the or it's the world.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, y'all could check out Hunter x Hunter. It's pretty good. I really like it.
So if you had a top 3 manga to tell people to pick up and read, what would
One Piece.
Other than One Piece.
No. What would be my top 3?
Your Kickstarter pin is a One Piece pin, and I want it now.
I mean, not technically. It's like it's just a boat. It's just pirates.
Kind of
a little bit One Piece-y.
Yeah. I was like, how did she get away with that?
Because it's not One Piece. That is not a One Piece ship. That is just a standard pirate ship.
A very, very nice pirate ship.
I like it. Yeah.
Got it, Tom. Okay.
What was the question? Oh, top 3 manga. Just to recommend it for people that are in an entry point.
Yeah.
Okay, for an entry point. Okay, that's different than my top 3. I think that Vinland Saga is a great pick for that because it has a more realistic tone and art style. Spy Family is probably a really good entry point if you want something that's a little bit more slow-paced and cozy, but also great character work. What will be my 3rd?
One Piece.
Oh, can I pick One Piece? Let's go with One Piece. Probably a terrible starting point, but it was the perfect starting point for me.
Do you think it really is a terrible starting point?
Just because people are intimidated by the size, but no, I
Okay.
don't. But if I can't choose One Piece, Full Metal Alchemist.
Okay.
Gavin!
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I've been trying to convince Gavin to start One Piece for so long, and he's being so stubborn about it.
I feel like similarly to like if you're gonna pick up the Stormlight Archive or Wheel of Time or something, like it's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah,
it's just
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
it's no different. It's just,
and if you think about it, because, and you'll see this more when you're reading, but because a saga has or even just an arc, it has like a complete story that it's telling. It's like you're reading a book and it's just a long series with many books, but like it's a complete story. So you can read a saga and then you can move on with your life. And then you can come back and read a saga.
Yeah, I like that. Definitely. Would you say that Discworld is kind of like that in its own little weird way, that it kind of has these like stories within an overall story?
So I've actually a couple of times made that connection as well, where I think that
Interesting.
Discworld and One Piece are like great if you prefer manga, if you prefer books, they're great crossovers. Um, like One Piece fans would like Discworld fans would like One Piece. That's what I'm trying to say.
I got you.
Just
I
because of the
definitely.
absurdist with like a lot of depth there, if you're
Yeah.
willing to give it a little bit of time.
Mhm. Yeah. I love Terry Pratchett, so I hear
He's an amazing writer.
you.
So is Oda. Told you I'm
Yes.
an massive One Piece fan.
Yes.
I am excited to try it. I think it'll probably be. You'll have to send me the name of that website because I've already
Yeah,
forgotten.
go ahead.
Yeah, same. I was trying to look it up and I didn't know how to spell it.
SHONEN, and then jump.
Okay.
I'll send it to you right now though.
Thank you.
I'll put it in the private chat. No, this keyboard's broken. I'll email it to you. What was I gonna? When are you guys gonna start reading? Young of the Dawn is not a good starting point. Maybe it just wasn't good for me because it has a really slow start, but it is a great series.
Maybe February or March, because the Sailor Moon that I'm reading is being re-released, and I have caught up. So and the next volume comes out at the end of January, and then after that it's March. So all of February I have no Sailor Moon. So I feel like that would maybe be a good time to start.
I think you're
Just
gonna
to kind of,
match Chris.
It's going to be pretty close.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go through Vinland Saga pretty quick. I want to get it wrapped up. And they're quick reads, so I think I can wrap up the rest of the what is it, 12, 13?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, you don't know? Okay.
Not off the top of my head. I don't know how many there are.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But God, Murphy, you're supposed to know everything about me.
I know. What's wrong with me?
But yeah, I'll have that finished by the time, I think. So probably about March would probably be a closer time for me too.
I'm excited for y'all.
Yeah, we'll have to do a recap when we have like reached our readings of East Blue and go through that. So East Blue is 100 chapters. That's what it is.
Yeah, but there's arcs. That's a saga, and there's arcs within the saga, so you can break it up in a smaller format if you want to discuss it a little bit more in depth. East Blue is there's plenty to discuss in it, but I think you probably won't get the full breadth of what One Piece is capable of in East Blue, but you will get a good experience.
Okay. Yeah, I can't remember. It might have even been you. You were talking about where you felt like the series really took off, like which arc it took off, and it wasn't East Blue. I feel like, was this you?
That was not the arc that hooked me.
Okay.
I think the end of Alabasta is just incredible. But it was, for me, it was actually the third saga that was when I realized, oh, this isn't just a good story. This is all interconnected, and there's a lot more intentionality here than I thought. And that was what made me go, okay, let's move some things aside. Let's make time for this a little bit more.
Okay. Well, definitely noted.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alabasta for most people. Okay. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
So I think the plan is Laura, if she is open to doing these again with season 2, I think we'd probably hit it more closer to release of the TV show. I think that's kind of why we hesitated a little bit when we did these episodes. But I think we're planning to probably hit season 2, of course, of the show. But I think do you think, Laura, you would probably read into season 2 happenings, or do you think
probably. Yeah, I feel like I've had the experience now of starting without the material, and now I kind of want to go back to how I normally am and have the material. I like being able to compare. I find it really interesting because just from aesthetic choices and artistic decisions, you can go, oh, okay, I see why they made that choice. Or you can kind of be like, why did they make that choice? I like being able to kind of have those internal monologues and discussions with myself. And then on YouTube and the internet. So, yeah.
Are you going to do the same, Chris?
Yeah.
What's that?
Are you going to do the same? Are you going to read out?
I'll once I start the manga, I'm going to go all in. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a binger. I have a hard time stopping. Yeah. Unless it's
I'm excited to see y'all's experience.
Well, if you want to come back for season 2 or like an East Blue wrap up or something, that would be
recap season 2 or something. Yeah, definitely.
I will chat with you. I just have a really bad poker face. So if you say stuff, I'm going to be like, I can't answer that. Talk to me about
it.
But I have to talk about it.
No pressure at all.
No, I'd love to come back.
Well, thank you so much. This has been so nice. Yeah. When we were like, I was reaching out to you and I hadn't heard back from you yet, and people in the chat kept being like, for your wrap up, like you should have someone that really knows a lot about the manga. It would be so nice if you had Murphy. I was like, yeah, it really would.
I'm really trying. She's very unavailable.
She's only got a family and probably other like 900 other live streams she does.
Listen, I'm bad at responding to emails, but lately I've been horrendous at it.
Well, we got you here, and that was the main thing, and we super appreciate it because it's been great having you to tell us what's going on in the One Piece world and just your
perspective. Thank you so much for inviting me.
If you're under a rock in the chat, I do have Murphy channel linked in the description below. And both her channels, she has a book channel and then a specific manga channel. So that's pretty awesome. And I will have her Kickstarter for her awesome collective pin as well in the description.
It's not One Piece, Toei.
It's not a One Piece ship.
Don't sue me. Pirate ship. Just a fancy pirate ship.
Just pirates. You can think about it as One Piece though.
There you go. Thank you everybody in the chat. We appreciate you for this entire season. And
yes, thank you so much
to us in season 2. Thank you so much, everybody.
See you next time.
And then it takes 10 minutes to actually end the